Hey everybody, this is Rob Keynes of 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙑𝙊𝙎.com. It is Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. Can you believe we're in December already? This year has just gone by so fast. I'm excited today because I'm joined by a very special guest, Ian Everard of Ark Silver. How are you doing today, Ian?
I'm very well, thank you, Rob.
Well, good to have you on the program. You know, you and I have been speaking back and forth over the last several months about what's going on in the economy. Of course, we had a roundtable with you and Chris Temple from the National Investor back when we were in New Orleans a couple months ago, talking about the Fed and it running out of bullets. Wanted to have you back on because we have a special deal for those who are interested in silver. We'll get to that in a minute, but I want to talk a little news with you. It's interesting that all of a sudden the insiders in the stock market are selling tons of shares. And CNBC had a nice little article on that today. 69 billion of their stock, and the year isn't over yet. That is 80% higher versus the 10-year average. Looming tax hikes and lofty share prices encourage many to take profits, and the selling is likely to increase even more as December, because December is when you do a lot of your tax loss selling and end of year selling. From Satya Nadella of Microsoft to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, they've taken a record 69 billion, and a nice little article here on what Elon Musk has done. Since November 8th, he sold $10 billion worth of Tesla stock. You know, I know it's hard times when you're CEO of a company and you can only sell 10 billion of your stock. It's, you know, stress there, but it seems as though the insiders are selling out. I wonder why. Why would they be selling out right now when we have all-time stock highs? I can't imagine why. What's your thought on that?
Because they know their companies are vastly overpriced.
Yeah.
And the value of companies are going to get revealed.
Yeah, I think Tesla recently eclipsed $1 trillion in stock valuation. I think they're up to like way past $1 trillion now. But over the last 3 or 4 years, haven't made any money. They've lost money. So essentially, we're valuing these technology companies, these EV companies, at almost infinity times their earnings, or thousands of times earnings. How long has that lasted in history? How many times have we seen this story? Didn't we see this during the tech crash in 2000?
We did, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy what's going on in the market. Guys, leave your super chats if you have questions for me and Ian. We'll do our best to answer those for you today. Ian, I know that you follow what the Fed is doing. Do you believe that the stock market is pumped up by the Fed policy, or what do you think is causing these valuations in stocks and real estate and all of those things that we're seeing now?
It's the abnormal increase in the money supply, which M2 going from 4 trillion to 20 trillion and rising. And at a rate, I think even now we're still increasing at 12.5% annualized. And they put the brakes on it, slowed down. We were running at 25% annualized rate of increase of the currency supply. That is the definition of inflation.
You know, last time we saw this, we saw it in Germany, or saw it at this scale from a very large economy. Of course, we've seen it in Argentina and Zimbabwe since then, but Germany was the last large scale case of this, where massive money printing, you start to see inflation, asset prices for stock and real estate go up. You know, in the US, it was a roaring 20s, right? In Germany, what it led to eventually was the collapse of the currency, a reissue of the currency, and then the eventual rise, of course, of the Nazis into power. That wasn't a pleasant experience. But usually when governments do this, when they debase the currencies at this level, of course, it happened in Rome too, so we have a lot of history here, it leads to really bad things. You know, what are some safe havens for people? Should they be holding cash in the bank? What should they be doing?
Well, we talked about that at New Orleans, didn't we, a little bit? For me personally, it's undeveloped land and silver are well my predominant positions, because I understand them and they're in my possession, and particularly silver because it's at the moment unreportable. So it's probably one of the last private havens to store any meaningful wealth.
Yeah, you know, I heard that a rumor, I don't know if it's been confirmed, that Elon Musk is looking for his own silver mine. Of course, for Tesla, they need a lot of silver for those vehicles, because what a lot of people don't know, electric vehicles need silver. And you were talking about an example of, if we produce so many electric vehicles, we would run out of silver supply very quickly. Talk to us about, about that. I know you mentioned it to me in New Orleans.
Yeah, I did get some heat because I mentioned up to 32 ounces per vehicle. Some people say 2 ounces, but I've still not managed to actually find any electric vehicle manufacturers who state how much silver they use.
Right.
So, but it's 2 ounces. When you multiply that by billions of electric vehicles, that is more than our mine supply.
Yeah, didn't you say it's something like 3 or 4 decades of mine supply if all the existing legislation is put into place and we get all these EVs that all the governments have already legislated in, we run out of like 3 decades or 4 decades of mine supply.
And what a lot of people, I've not heard many people talk about, it's not just the electrical vehicle, it's the charging stations, it's the fact that make the electric vehicles, it's the robots, it's the distribution, it's all the process in making, distributing, powering and running and maintaining electric vehicle is going to use more silver. So it might be 2 ounces per vehicle, but by the time you add on all the infrastructure, it might be another ounce or another 2 ounces per vehicle on the road. I guess nobody's really published a clear industrial demand, because as soon as that information becomes public, it's going to get front run, which is what us in the silver community are doing. We're front running by purchasing and holding physical silver.
We are, and we're not buying expensive Tesla stock. Now, a lot of people in the world are, and I've had this conversation with money managers. Tomorrow on the channel, you guys are going to see a super special presentation where we talk a little bit about this, but I don't want to give it away. But at the end of the day, what's happening is record amounts of passive investing is pushing all this Fed money in the stock market. Everything is overvalued, from a PE ratio in history. The only time we actually had a higher cyclically adjusted PE ratio, a CAPE value that Dodd and Graham put out as a measure of stock market valuation, was the tech crisis. Of course, that crashed everything. And I think that's why the CEOs are getting out now to the tune of 69 billion and probably reach 70 or 80 billion by the end of the year. And I wonder if they're going into gold and silver and other, hard assets. You mentioned undeveloped land like farmland, ranch land, or just developable land. Things like gold and silver are going to get the bid there. Does that happen in the next year? Or because there's a ton of stock out there. Can't they keep doing this for a while? Can't they keep selling for a while?
I think it's happening already. I had pleasure last week visiting one of the best run private precious metal vaults in the whole of the US, probably the best run one. And there's some big clients. I got the privilege of walking around and seeing the stacks and stacks of metals, all allocated, all named. So there is some infrastructure in place already. That particular facility has huge capacity to grow, and they've built it out anticipating a huge flow into physical, privately owned precious metals.
Yeah, and I wonder, Ian, how much actual precious metals is available. That we'll see that in the video we're doing tomorrow. I have a lot of special guests coming onto the program tomorrow to talk about how much actual precious metal we have on the COMEX in the world, and we think it's a lot less. That will come out on the channel tomorrow evening. There's a question here from Urban Sombrero. Rob, do you think the BIS has a limit to gold leasing based on their holdings, or can they rehypothecate to infinity? And my answer to that, Urban Sombrero, is the rehypothecation is at infinity already. If you're looking at its ratio to actual metal, if you look at the COMEX, if you look at the London OTC market, if you look at what the central banks have been known to lease, and like the Federal Reserve said that they would lease, if you look at where we think things like SLV and these other funds are rehypothecated metal, it's owned by more than one party, and so it doesn't have the actual metal backing it. I think that they've already rehypothecated to infinity, to answer your question, and I think they're going to keep doing it to create this illusion that there is metal liquidity there. The funny thing you're going to see on our video tomorrow is when you actually try to get the metal off of COMEX, actually load it out, what's called load out physically onto a vehicle, they don't really let you do it. They're okay with giving you a paper warrant. Remember, that's a receipt. It's a piece of paper like this that says, hey, man, got a little receipt here. You've got metal, right? But they don't actually give you the actual metal. I'm talking, this is a silver Kennedy $0.50. They don't give you the actual metal on COMEX. And I suspect that it's like that everywhere. Ian, how much metal do you think is actually available? We know it's not enough to satisfy all the contracts, but what are you thinking?
Well,
I mean, for example, we've heard people say, Jeffrey Christian said 100 to 1 on the COMEX for silver. Do you think that's conservative?
Yeah, I think we can try and guess, and we can study the reports, and you do a lot of work, don't you, on the commitment of traders reports and who the players are, who's a miner, who's hedging. But there's still a illusion in that. And so my approach is I'm collecting as many people as I can to buy as much silver as possible, and simply just keep buying the physical, and then they will have to show their hand. I mean, I've never played poker, but what's occurring now, you could compare it to a game of poker, and they're just by hypothecating, they're just raising the bet all the time, and they're trying to hope that the people who are buying physical are just going to get bored and go away. But from what I'm seeing, the absolute opposite's happening now. There's a core mass of people who are just increasing their holding steadily with no intention of selling, not even for triple digits.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And Ian, I spy on that table behind you some silver bars. I know that you are a big silver bug and run a company called Ark Silver. Tell us a little bit about why you got into silver, why you started Ark Silver, and what your mission is as a company.
Okay, well, I started researching finance, economy, central banks around 2017. And to start with, I just got angry. I'm an American resident. I have a green card. I'm married to an amazing American lady. I love this country. When I found out what the Federal Reserve is, I got really angry. And that doesn't really do much. So it's better to get even. And the more I studied how the system is geared against the working person, I mean, I work in construction. I've been a builder all my life. I work hard. I like the choice of spending the money I earn now or later. I don't want it stolen if I want to spend it later. And I kept coming back to silver. When Britain came off the silver standard, 1813, I think, or 1816, Germany came off in 1861. Then the European bankers went and coerced America to come off the silver standard. And then that destroyed the silver miners. They didn't even tell them. So the silver miners turned up with raw silver to get it coined, and they were told to go away. Silver is no longer money. And silver is the simplest thing because the cost of entry, I mean, like the Kennedy $𝙎, you can buy one for about $4, and you've got 1/7 of an ounce of silver and some copper. So you can start at a very, very low level, or you can go right up to the 1,000 ounce bars, the 100 ounce, the kilos, or the 10 ounce. So my mission is to put as much silver in the hands of the public at the best possible price I can do.
And you've done that. So we'll show the website here in a minute, but you sent me these really nice 40% silver candy $𝙎. Thank you for doing that. And I love these. I love junk silver. I love the 90% silver. I love the 40% candy $𝙎. Anything I think was produced before like 1965. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we used to have silver in the money, and this is the minted coin of the US until the mid 60s when they took it out. And of course, in 71, they took us off the gold standard for the dollar. So they've taken the value out of the monetary system. What you're doing is trying to put this back into the hands of people as cheaply as possible. So I'm going to show your website here for a moment. You're giving our viewers a very, very special deal. And that deal is 99 cents over spot on 2 different types of silver. Those that have watched my channel saw me do this video where let's refresh the page here, where I did this video where I basically unboxed a 1,000 ounce silver bar from the COMEX that we got from you guys. And it's a beautiful bar. We'll just do a picture of it right there. That's that 1,000 ounce bar sitting on my table in my living room. It's 70 pounds worth of silver. Got that for 99 cents over spot. You guys are also doing the candy $𝙎, 40% silver, 99 cents over spot as well. It's this bag right here. So if you can't afford the 1,000-ounce silver bar, you can get in at smaller amounts here. So tell everybody why you're offering silver at 99 cents over spot when nobody else on the planet basically at a retail level is doing that.
I've had many customers ask for 90% constitutional or junk, and the reason it was called junk, you could buy it for spot. It was the melt value.
Right.
Last I checked, APMEX was selling junk for $8.49 premium. Our wholesale price, the lowest we found to purchase, is $5.50 premium over spot. So the last big order I sent out of junk, I didn't even put any markup on it. I said, look, the customer really insisted they wanted it because I could do 𝙎𝙊𝙄𝙇𝙊𝙎 at $3.70 for a brand new coin, but they wanted constitutional. So then I came across, my wholesaler has a fairly large quantity of these Kennedys. So these are 65 to 69, and they're 40% silver. That's the last US coin that was in currency with silver, and they're in remarkably good condition. I mean, it's random what you get. I mean, got a big handful out of a bag. Yeah. But most of them are pretty well, not quite uncirculated, but they're not beat up, they're not worn. So they're a fascinating piece of history. They are, the outer layer is 80% silver, 20% copper. And then there's an inner core, which is about 20% silver, 80% copper. Yeah. So when you look at the edge of the coin, there's no copper band. So yeah, we were able to get these, do a deal with our wholesaler, and we're just pleased to offer them at the same rate as the 1,000-ounce bar.
Yeah, it's awesome. 99 cents is a great deal. So if you guys want that, all you got to do is email. What's the email that they use, Ian?
invest@arksilver.com.
That's invest, INVEST at arksilver.com. Just mention Gold Silver Pros. You'll get that special pricing, 99 cents, whether you want the big bar, just want the Kennedy silver dollars. Of course, you guys sell other silver products there as well, don't you, on the website? Yes,
we do. Yeah. We haven't got, I mean, we can pretty well source any silver product, but our speciality is just looking for the deals that are for the online guys.
So what is your vision for Ark Silver? You guys are offering silver. You're trying to offer people the best deals possible. Can you scale this up? Can you really supply a lot of silver to the market?
Yes. Yeah, we have several really good wholesalers, good relationships. One actually in Idaho, just a short trip for me, so if I want to collect personally. We also have access now to the vault I mentioned earlier, so we could actually store in what I would consider the most secure precious metal vault in the whole of the US, completely private. It's a private company, and so yeah, we can offer that facility if people want to spend several $1 million and don't want it delivered by UPS. They can store it fully privately, and their name on it.
Yeah. Awesome, Ian. So we were talking a little bit. I'm going to turn to real estate here for a second. We were having a good little talk on real estate before the program started. Some people have said real estate's going to crash. I think you and I think not quite yet, because as the Fed's pumping all this money, it's going to pump up all of those assets, right? Is it going to continue to pump up real estate? Do you think real estate's going to be strong here at least for the foreseeable future?
It's going to be very, very selective. I'm biased. I live in the magnificent Teton Valley, Idaho. I can see prices just continually rising here because of the scarcity of land and land that you can build on. I can see a lot of the cities having incredibly terrible trouble with the local authorities putting up the property taxes and literally scaring people out with the homelessness and the addiction and all the other problems you get. I can see those just really declining. I mean, we still have, you look across Detroit, it's an example of every sort of type of market in the US. There's still areas that have never recovered from the offshoring of the motor industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Detroit got absolutely destroyed when basically the automotive sector, moved out to cheaper areas like Mexico, China, stuff like that. A lot of those jobs left, a lot of manufacturing jobs left, but Detroit was particularly hit bad. There have been a lot of exposés, including one that was on Netflix within the last year or two that I saw, talking about all of the crime issues in Detroit and all the dilapidated housing. And I think that is sort of a microcosm or a preview of what we may see if we have sort of an economic collapse. Let's say the dollar crashes down because of so much printing, massive inflation. I think you're going to see that come to a big city near you. And I think if you're in precious metals, that is your sort of salvation from that, or your protection from that in a way. If you have a little bit of gold, have a little bit of silver, Ian, aren't you protecting your wealth at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going to give you some options, being outside of a currency that is on fire, and the only thing that can happen is there's pouring more gasoline on the fire, just creating more and more currency.
Yeah, I agree with you. And just for those that join late, because now we have almost 200 people in, I'm going to share screen again on what we originally talked about when we opened. CEOs and insiders, according to CNBC and the data that they have, sold a record 69 billion of their stock so far this year. It's not over yet. It's 80% higher than the 10-year rolling average of stock sales. Of course, Elon Musk sold 10 billion, Jeff Bezos almost 10 billion, the Walton family 6.1, Mark Zuckerberg 4.5, Larry Page 1.5, and it's expected to continue. So the top guys and the insiders in these big firms are selling out. And we think that's because we're sitting at near tops of the market. Now, this may not quite be the top. I think it's going to melt up one more time because of all the money printing, Ian. But certainly it looks like a lot of the insiders, that's the signal when they're selling that much stock. It's not that they're not happy with their companies. It's that they're like, holy crap, look at the prices we're getting for this. Might as well get it now, because they don't expect it to go up. They expect it to go down.
Yeah. Or even if it goes up in nominal terms, they're more aware than the majority of the population of the devaluation of the currency, the debasement of the currency. I mean, if you look at Elon, I mean, he used 1 billion of his and put that into silver. Well, that would definitely take up all of the spare silver available.
Yeah, so it certainly would.
Person using 1/10 of, I mean, what's his holding? Is it 500 billion or something? So it's, if he used 1/10 of what he's just sold, which is probably 1/100 of what he's still got, like he could buy the whole annual silver market.
Yeah, it's funny that you take some of these. The stock market's overinflated when you can take, all of the silver available and buy it out of a partial sale of one of these massive tech companies. That's how much it's overvalued. Because I'm sorry, Tesla doesn't make as many cars as Ford near as much money. But they're trading at many multiples of what Ford is. That tells you right there that they're overvalued. It's a story stock. It's momentum chasing, and that's what's going on in the market. And you could say the same for a lot of tech companies. Microsoft, a lot of the big retailers, even Walmart. Man, their stock with as soon as the pandemic hit and people were having groceries sent home. I mean, the grocery sales at Walmart, the home delivery and the car delivery and the Amazon delivery just went crazy. It's overvalued. It's just an overvalued market, and that's got to come down sometime. And I think the way you protect yourself is silver. So we brought Ian on because he understands this quite well. He was at the ground level, in construction, saw what was going on and decided to make a change and start a new company, get people into this, because he understood, when you're a builder, when you work with your hands, when you see the economy on the front lines, you tend to see things before other people. And don't you see the warning signs ahead of time about what's going on?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just recently, I saw on Travis on Economic Ninja, he broadcast the US tariffs on Canadian softwoods. They doubled them. So added nearly 9%. That now means all US manufacturers, and most of those are owned by Canadian companies, all the mills, they all put their prices up by 9%. So 7:30 Monday morning, I was in my lumber yard and I ordered a whole bunk of 16-foot 2x6s and a whole pack of 10-foots. So I've got enough to build out my next house.
There you go. So you're going to build a new house there in Idaho?
Yeah, yeah. I'm building one, and we've got 2 plots of land lined up to build 2 more.
Very nice. Well, congratulations on that. I got a couple of notes, just show notes while you're here, Ian, for a couple more minutes. Those of you that have followed me know that a couple of weeks ago, I went on OTC Markets and gave a keynote presentation at one of their conferences for on behalf of 𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙑𝙀𝙍 Capital and 𝙃𝙂𝙀𝙃 Advisory, which arranged those, those OTC functions, those conferences. And the wonderful guys at Murdoch and 𝙃𝙂𝙀 sent me this little gift package. I got to show it for you. Hold on a sec. So wanted to send a shout out to Murdoch Capital and 𝙃𝙂𝙀, who arrange the speakers and organize those OTC market conferences. They sent me this wonderful gift basket. I've got a couple of bottles of wine here from Wine Country, a lot of snacks in there. 𝙎𝙊𝙇𝙑 chocolate, Lindor chocolate. Almost none of this fits in my diet, but I don't think that's really going to matter. I think I'm just going to have to use it. So special shout out to them. I appreciate that. It was a wonderful conference. The keynote that I gave was, Ian, and you'll appreciate this, I talked about why this time is different in gold and silver, and I outlined the case. I talked about the overvalued PE ratios. I talked about what happens when we get in that 5th quintile of PE ratios in history. The stock market collapses back down through the historical mean and all the way to the bottom. So the crashes tend to be really big, like what we saw, during the Great Depression. It tends to be that kind of, and we're sitting at the second most overvalued stock market, according to a PE over 10-year rolling average, since the tech crash. And every time that's happened, we've had a major crash. And I talked about the OTC markets. I got a lot of great feedback on that. A lot of people, these wealth managers and these stock CEOs emailed me after and said, you know what? I'm glad you did that, and I need to pay attention, and I need to look at alternative investment. And guess what I told them, Ian, they needed to get into? It was gold and silver, and I said maybe a little farmland. That's how you're going to protect your wealth. And so I was able to reach some of these, wealthier individuals to say, hey, start paying attention to this, because, and of course, I think some of the big guys are. We saw that with the data around people selling their stocks. One last note I wanted for you guys. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I do have a little bit of a sponsor message since we're all here, because really exciting news. Abra Silver is a miner that I have covered for a long time. Their 𝙈𝙊𝙇 project has now had its PEA done. They have after-tax net present value of $364 million. So they proved out that their project is going to be very valuable. It's got a pre-tax internal rate of return of 44%, after-tax 30.2. They're going to mine for 16 years. They're going to produce a lot of silver and a lot of gold there. So if anybody's interested in the mining stocks, a lot of you are, you follow me, you can go look at Abra Silver. It's on the Toronto Stock Exchange under Abra, and I believe you can find them on the OTCs as well. I do love this company. If you're into the stocks and you want to speculate a little bit, check out Abra Silver. They just got their PEA out. Great news. Their project is completely, it's completely solvent. They're going to make a lot of money for their investors. So that's another good target for you guys. And as we wrap up here, name of the game, overvaluation in the stock market, too much money floating around. What I've been talking with some money managers behind the scene is we're in small inflation now. We had a 6.2% print. Here in a few days, we're going to get the numbers for November. I'm expecting them to be at least 6.2 or higher. Ian, I don't think we've hit the major inflation. If you look at how much M1 money supply was created last year, to fight off the shutdowns as a result of the pandemic, they printed like mad. And I don't think that we're seeing the big inflation that we're going to see. What's your view on that? Have we hit big inflation? Do you think that's coming? What are your thoughts?
Well, again, I'll just repeat what I said earlier. Inflation is the abnormal increase in the money supply. So you're increasing your money supply over your genuine GDP. And even some of our GDP is fake because it's from creation of money supply. It's the wrong way round. Yeah. So we produced when, it's staggering. So I think probably the first quarter of next year, maybe into the second quarter, will be at actual inflation of 25%.
Yeah, and 25% would be astounding, Ian. Yeah. I don't think Americans, I think we got up to like maybe 17, 18% in the 70s, 80s, if I remember. 25% would be the most since the Great Depression. That's an 80-year cyclical high. That's huge if that's true.
Well, it compounds really rapidly. I mean, my example, I saw lumber is going to go up 10% in one jump within weeks. What do? I front run. I go buy my lumber.
Of course.
Now, so other people catch on. They go buy it. Now there's a shortage of lumber, so the price goes up. Yes, high prices are sometimes a cure for high prices, but more and more people are aware that the dollar is just not going as far. I mean, you gave the example, I think, a few weeks ago of your weekly shop. You know, and what can you get for $100 now in the store?
Yeah, I go shopping now, and every time I go shopping, I get a little basket of stuff, and it's $60, and I'm like, either I'm buying like the highest end stuff. I remember when I was a kid, and I could get a whole shopping cart for $40, and that was milk and eggs and cereal and cookies and whatever else we wanted for an entire family. I go now, I get one of those little carry carts, you know, and I'm lucky if I get out of there for under 60, $70. And I'm a bargain shopper. You know, much less you go to Costco and you try to buy, you know, big bulky items and you spend $200-300 and you're like, oh my goodness gracious. I mean, it's just gotten so hard for the average family now to deal with this inflation, and we think more is coming. Ian, thank you so much for coming on the program. Very special program we wanted to do today. We wanted to talk with you guys about what's going on in the stock market, all the insider selling. And I wanted to bring you this very special deal from Ian, 99 cents over spot silver on the big 1,000 ounce COMEX bars. And if you want to buy just a little amount, or if you want to buy little silver, which I love, by the way, these Kennedy $0.5, 40% silver, 99 cents over spot. He has sourced special deals for you at Ark Silver. All you have to do is email invest@𝙂𝙊𝙇𝙊𝙎.com, mention Gold Silver Pros, you'll get that pricing. There's also a phone number we have down in the description of the video. You can call and mention Gold Silver Pros, you'll get it. Thank you, Ian, so much for coming on our program, providing our viewers this. Appreciate your viewpoint, because you were at the front lines of the economy for so long, and that's why you started Ark Silver, and that's why you got into it. And that's such a powerful message. You know, somebody like you with your experience, seeing what goes on in the economy every day, starting a silver company and providing silver to people just out of appreciation, you know, to try to help them. It's an awesome thing that you're doing. I appreciate you doing that for us.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody for joining the live stream today. We're just going 30 minutes today. This was a live stream special. Stay tuned to the channel tomorrow, 12 p.m. Central Time. We're putting out Rafi's video on getting silver off the COMEX. And then I've got a very special roundtable coming out tomorrow evening with 7 or 8 of the luminaries in the gold silver space. We've got Craig Hemke, we've got James Anderson, we have Chris and Yara from Arcadia Economics. We have lots of other people there in that roundtable. It's an awesome roundtable, power packed. We're going to divide that into 2 parts. We went an hour, so we'll do 30 minutes tomorrow and then 30 minutes after that. You guys have got to see it. You've got to see what happens when you go to these fake markets and try to get silver off. You're not going to get it. If you want a 1,000 ounce bar, it's easier to go to Ark Silver and Ian. I know I got one, and I did a video unboxing of it on his channel, 𝙂𝙊𝙇.com. Thank you guys so much. We're going to go ahead and end up the stream. Hope everybody has a wonderful day. We'll see you back here tomorrow on the channel talking more about gold, silver.